Hello everyone. Can you guys hear me? Just let me know in the comment section. So if you're watching this on my platform of the website aiacademy.com slash etc, you can click on the video and it's gonna send you on YouTube because this is hosted on YouTube Live. And if you're YouTube Live, you can do all sort of stuff like commenting, likes, sharing, and all these things. So if you are not watching it on YouTube Live, I recommend you do that because we can have a little bit more interaction. So just click on watch on YouTube, bottom left, I think, or on the title. And so before we get started, maybe we give people a little bit of time to join in if they're late. I would like to know, who are you? Who's watching this? So maybe just write where are you from, and yeah, and just let's see how many countries we have live right now. I see we have around 25 people. I want to see how many countries we get. Ciao Matteo. So we have Norway, we have Bari, Puglia, so south of Italy. My father is actually from the region. He's from Puglia. From Milan, so more Italians. I bet there's a lot of Italians. A lot of the events that I do, I don't know why Italians really like it. Maybe because I'm Italian. Munich, Denmark, Milano, Giovanni from Napoli, Padova, from Vicenza, Brescia. So even more Italians. Awesome. I like it. Bergamo, Panama City. Wow, nice. I hope that the weather is nice over there. Should be a really beautiful place. Never been there, but I'm planning. Denmark. Awesome. So how many countries do we have right now? Denmark, Panama, Italy. We have Munich, some Norway. So right now 5 countries. Nice. There's a lot of Danes as well, which I'm pretty happy about because I live in Copenhagen, but I'm Italian and I have a lot of network in Italy. So a lot of the times, as I was saying before, when I do these events, a lot of Italians, which I really like, but I also want to try to bring more people from Denmark, which is where I live in now. So we have more Denmark, Milano. Nice. It's pretty international. I really like this. So, okay. Let's get started, I will say. If someone joins in later, it's fine. The recording of this webinar is going to be available on the website where you signed up. So you should be able to watch it even if you're late and you miss something. That's all right. So, without further ado, let's get started. So, welcome everyone. Very happy that there's a crowd here today. This webinar, we're going to talk about career opportunities in artificial intelligence. I'm going to try to tell you a few things about all the different parts of an AI project, and so all the different kinds of professions that you can have. So before we get started, let me introduce myself a little bit in case you don't know me already. My name is Gianluca Mauro. I'm the co-founder of the AI Academy. I'm from Italy, from Rome specifically, but I live in Copenhagen since a couple of years. Really enjoyed here. The weather is not always great, but today is pretty good, I have to say. Maybe later on I'm going to show you how it looks like outside. I also wrote a book called Zero to AI, which you can see I hold it in the picture right there. And with AI Academy, I've been specialized in doing trainings on artificial intelligence. So I've been very lucky to work with a few cool companies and universities. Here you can see some logos. The ESCP Business School, International University of Monaco, the National Research Council of Italy, La Sapienza Università in Rome, and then a few cool companies like Procter & Gamble, Brunello Cucinelli, the fashion company, Daikin, Pampers, the diapers company, NL, EAT, No Energy, a few pretty cool companies. I'm really honored about the opportunities that I had. And here, just for fun, I wrote the conferences where I talked to. I really like it because you can see a bunch of different countries. So I really like the fact that I was able to share my passion for this technology with people from more or less all over the world. So enough about me. Some recommendations for today's webinar. I recommend you avoid using your phone and avoid social media because we're going to talk about, career stuff. So these are all things that maybe are going to be important for you, I hope, and maybe they're going to shape the way that you are going to go further with your career. So pay attention. And the smartphones, sometimes they're not super nice when it comes to keeping attention on something, keeping focused. Get a quiet, chill place and ask all the questions you want. I have a screen here where I can read all your questions. I'm gonna try to take questions when I'm talking, so I can stop 1 second and try to answer what you're saying. But if I'm not answering your question right away, maybe it's because I haven't seen it, but don't worry, because in the end, I'm gonna take all of them. So I'm not gonna ignore any single question. So feel free to write whenever you feel like commenting on something, okay? Now, let's get started. This is what we're gonna talk about today. So instead of just telling you, hey, these are the career opportunities, that's it, I wanna take an example of a real life AI project, something that has actually been built, and I wanna try to break it down into the different components of the AI project. So then once we see, okay, these are the different components, we can say which kind of people, which kind of jobs and professions are responsible for each one of these steps. And that's how we're gonna talk about jobs. I'm not just gonna tell you these are the jobs. I'm gonna try to extrapolate this from real life AI projects. Then we're gonna talk about the skills that you need to do all of these jobs. And then get into these two kinds of jobs, technical and non-technicals. Then tell you how to study. If you wanna get one of these AI careers, what should you study? Where should you start? And then, as I told you before, we're gonna have a final Q&A, so you get to ask me questions and I get to answer them. Okay, so let's get started. This is the project that we're gonna talk about today. It's about a cucumber factory in Japan. So there was this pretty small cucumber farm. I would say farm, not a factory. Yeah, maybe a farm. That's a better word to describe that. That was owned by a family. So it was a pretty small business. You can actually see them right here. So this is the Makoto family, the old parents and the kid here on the back. So they had this farm, and again, it was a small business. They had a big problem that since each cucumber has different color, shape, quality, and freshness, this small business had to spend every day 8 hours per day. This was something that the mom in the family was just, breaking her back sorting cucumbers, because every kind of cucumber, based on, again, shape, the color, the freshness, and all these things, has a different price. So the mom of the Makoto family every day had to spend 8 hours picking cucumbers and putting them in a different box so that she could put the right price on these cucumbers. It was a lot of time that she was wasting. And so the son of the Makoto family, he was a computer scientist. And he thought, wait a minute, maybe I can use artificial intelligence to try to automate this process. So here's what he has done. He started by taking a few pictures of all the different kinds of cucumbers that his mom was used to select and identify and put in different categories. So just to give an example of how these look like, maybe you have these ones that are very straight. These ones have a kind of an irregular shape. There's also some different in color. You can see these ones are very dark as well. And so, they're pretty different. And so the son of this family built an AI algorithm that will look at a picture of a cucumber right here. Cucumber gets a picture. Then he used an AI model to categorize the kind of cucumber that he was looking at. Then there was a robotic arm that will put the cucumber in the right bucket based on what the artificial intelligence has said. He basically tried to use AI to automate whatever his mom was doing every day by hand. And you can actually watch a video of how this looks like. So let me just pull it up. Here we go. So you can see he puts the cucumber in this little box. The cucumber goes on this kind of treadmill thingy, and then it gets put in the right bucket. Let's look at another one. You can see how, I'm gonna pause this 1 second. You can see how this AI algorithm is saying, hey, I am 50% confident that the category, the kind of cucumber that I just photographed is the cucumber class M. They gave different letters to different kinds of cucumbers, okay? And then it just keeps going. It pushes it on the treadmill. And then again, like before, there's a little robotic arm that pushes it in the right bucket. Now, of course, this was a prototype. Then they built something a little bit more sophisticated. But it just gives you an idea. So now let's zoom out a little bit. Because I just told you very quickly a very, I think, fun and interesting example of how a very small business, this was a family business in Japan, was able to save lots of hours of very boring work using artificial intelligence. Okay? But I want to zoom out. I want to try to see, okay, what are the different steps you need to follow to build something like this? So this is what we're going to do now. And this works for every project. Keep that in mind, not just for a small company, also for a big company, not just in the agronomy sector, but also in marketing, also in business, in every field. So these are the three main steps that you need to follow to build any kind of AI project. First step is define the business problem. What is it exactly that you're trying to solve and why? In this case, they knew that what they were trying to solve was the loss of time that Makoto's mom had to spend every day to try to pick cucumbers. This was the issue they were trying to solve. And they knew how also the problem worked. What was the issue? Well, the issue was there are different shapes. Every shape has a different price. Based on how it looks like, you can categorize the shape, etc., etc. Once this part is done, so once we know exactly what kind of business problem we are trying to solve, then you can switch to the next challenge, which is designing your AI project. What does it mean? It means that this is very general what I said before, right? I just said, hey, sorting cucumbers takes a lot of time. But if you want to transform this problem into an AI project, you need to be able to say, well, I need to classify images of cucumbers into different classes using, in this case, it was called an artificial neural network. So you need to be able to transform your business problem into something that is an AI problem. It's something that AI technology can actually solve. And last part, just the last part, is AI development, which is actually building the technology that allows the Makoto family in this case to solve the problem. So to sort cucumbers and push them into the right bucket. If you have any question on this, just write me in the chat, okay? But these are the three main phases. Now, what I want to do is I want to start looking at the different people, so the different kinds of jobs and careers that do AI development. So I want to start from the end, okay? So let's talk about skills and jobs to develop AI projects, to actually build the technology behind these projects. So these are the main things that someone that has to build AI projects have to do. The first activity is usually cleaning data and processing the data. In this case, it will be something like this. We have 8,400 images. They have 32 times the 32 pixels, then in color and 9 classes. So this is what a data scientist in this case will do. He will look at the kind of data that we need, the kind of data that we have, and if it's necessary, a data scientist will also manipulate this data so that the data is ready, it's a good fit for a machine learning algorithm, for an AI algorithm to be understood. The second thing that these people do, that technical people do in AI development, is to build and test AI algorithms. So typically a data scientist will look into different AI tools that you have. Imagine like a toolbox where inside you have a hammer, you have a saw, you have a screwdriver. AI algorithms are more or less like this. There are a bunch of different algorithms that you can use to solve a problem. And so the data scientist will say, hey, I built a classifier with a 94.2% accuracy. Let's just assume that this is the performance that the data scientist achieved for this project. And then last but not least, deployment. What does deployment mean? This is a word that sounds weird to a lot of people, but it's super important. The algorithm is running on an industrial machine. So the AI, the developer, the data scientist needs to take this algorithm and make it run on a machine, on something that moves, that has moving parts, a camera, maybe an internet connection, maybe some, I don't know, a treadmill that moves around and all these kind of things. So the data scientist needs to be able to take this technology and make it work on whatever machine needs to run these algorithms. Okay? So to do these things, you need a mix of skills. You need quite a few different skills actually. So the skills that you need to have are software engineering, machine learning, mathematics and statistics, and some sort of business acumen. So you need to also be able to understand a little bit of the business problem that you're trying to solve. Otherwise, you're just, you don't understand what you're working on. What is the biggest problem that I see in every company? That a lot of companies try to find someone who is here in the middle, someone who can do all of these things. And I call these people pink unicorns because they don't exist. It's almost impossible to find someone that can do well software engineering, can do machine learning, can do mathematics, can do business as well. It's super complicated to find someone that can do all of this. So when businesses try to find someone that can do everything, I usually tell them, hey, you're looking for a pink unicorn. This person does not exist, most likely. And if it exists, probably she or he is working at Google in Silicon Valley, and it's gonna cost you, €500,000 to get this human to work for you. Okay? So it's really hard. What you can instead do is have a mix of people. So if we look again at these skills, so software, machine learning, advanced mathematics, different people have a different mix. So you can have software engineer who's really good at software, but maybe it's not that great at machine learning and mathematics. And you would use someone like this to do the last part of a project. So try to make the algorithm run on industrial machines, for instance. You can have the machine learning engineer, who's someone who knows a little bit of software, is very good at machine learning, and maybe is also pretty good at advanced mathematics. Or you can have the AI researcher, who's someone that typically is not great at software, but is really good at machine learning or advanced mathematics. And you would use someone like this, so the researcher job, for very hard problems. The cucumber classifier was not a hard problem, okay? It was pretty easy. But let's say that you want to build a self-driving car. Well, that's a pretty damn hard problem. And maybe you need also an AI researcher. But maybe you need also a software engineer, so someone who can, make your AI run very fast in a car. Otherwise, if it's slow, you're just going to hit people, right? So what I'm trying to go with this is there are different flavors, different shapes and colors of AI skills. It's people that are more skilled at software, people that are more skilled at machine learning, or people that are really good at advanced mathematics. And all these people can have different jobs. They can be really important for different tasks. Okay? So now we talked about technical figures. We said, okay, technical people are the people who write AI algorithms, the people who deploy AI algorithms on industrial machines, and can have different kinds of expertises, right? So these are the three main job career opportunities that you can have: software engineer, machine learning engineer, and researcher as a technical person. Let's look at another phase of the AI project. So now we looked at AI development, but let's look a little bit in the beginning. So business problem definition. So we remember in the case of the cucumber project, someone who was defining the business problem was someone who knew a lot about, in this case, the business of farming cucumbers, someone who knew that there was a different price, different value attached to a different cucumber, someone who really knew the industry. So that being said, now let's look at what kind of skills and jobs exist for the people that are good at identifying business opportunities for AI. So the person in this case that will be able to basically say, hey, we should build something to automate this process. Okay? Let's look into this. So again, what kind of stuff do you have to do? The first thing that you have to do is identify the problem. It sounds silly, it sounds stupid, but it is not. You have no idea, in my consulting experience, it's not easy to find good opportunities for AI, because you need to be able to identify something that it's gonna work, that is gonna give you value, and that can actually be implemented in your company. So in this case, it will be someone that says, hey, I've been in this industry a lot. I know how the cucumber farming process works, and I can tell you there's this task that takes a lot of time. It's repetitive and it's a pain in the ass. This would be someone that knows the industry inside out and knows that this is a big problem that needs to be solved. The second thing that this person will have to do is to sketch out a solution. So someone that knows the industry can also think about, hey, this could potentially be an interesting solution. And he could say, for instance, hey, we could automate the sorting process after the cucumbers are picked. Because maybe this person knows that the best moment to sort cucumbers is right after they're picked. So maybe then they rot a little bit. So I don't know, I've never farmed cucumbers, by the way, so I have no idea. But someone that works in this industry could say, based on my knowledge, I know that this is the best way to solve this problem. And last, this person needs to set metrics. What does it mean? Needs to say, hey, I think if we do this project, we can save this amount of money by, let me just move this a little bit so you can read it. We need to have a minimum error rate of 5%. Otherwise, we're going to lose customer trust, because imagine if you're pricing as a premium cucumber, a cucumber that is not premium, then maybe it's a little bit, bad quality. And we can save this amount of money. So someone who's really good at understanding the business problem can also do this part of the project, which is also very, very important. Okay? So now, that being said, what are the skills that you need to have to take this role? So to be someone that identifies business problems and defines them. So you need to have two main skills. You need to have a lot of domain expertise. In that case, you need to understand really well the business of farming cucumbers, but you also need to have AI knowledge. And notice how the two bolts don't have the same size. Domain expertise is more important than AI knowledge, because there's gonna be someone, a technical figure, a data scientist, who's gonna build the algorithms. To have this job, you don't need to basically know how to code. You need to know different things. Let's look into what kind of stuff you need to know. First thing, you need to have industry knowledge. As I said it before, it's super important. In every project that I build for all my clients, I always want to have someone in the team that really knows the problem really well. For instance, I work with Pampers, the diapers company. And well, I wanted to have in the team someone that was an expert in diapers. They knew, different kids have different, maybe sizes of diapers. They knew that, the most expensive diapers are usually sold in these kind of neighborhoods. I wanted someone with industry knowledge, and I was bringing in my AI knowledge to build AI models that will help the company, sell more diapers, be more efficient, or cut costs and all that kind of stuff. But there always needs to be someone with industry knowledge. Super important. Otherwise, the project just doesn't work. I can tell you from experience. Second thing, exactly what I said before. You need to know the challenge you're trying to solve and the processes around it. So sometimes data scientists, they come up with ideas to solve problems, but they don't know the processes behind that problem that they're trying to solve. Instead, this kind of person, this kind of tech figure that is a little bit a domain expert and a little bit an AI expert, this person needs to know inside out very well all the challenges that they're trying to solve and how the processes around it work. But this human needs also to have AI knowledge. It needs to understand a little bit about AI. Let's see what kind of AI knowledge it's very important that this person has. It needs to know AI first principles. And you have no idea how important this is. I'm gonna tell you a funny story. Okay, this is pretty funny. I'm gonna put myself bigger on the screen so you can see me. I was training. It's kind of a funny breakdown. I was gonna have a training for the CEO of a large company. And so before having the training, I go to his office and I ask him, hey, is there anything specific that you want to learn about artificial intelligence? Any doubt that you have? And he tells me, I need to know how big is AI. And I'm like, wait, what do you mean? He's like, I need to know how big it is. Like, can I put it in a room? Can I put it in a big container? How big is it? And I was like, wait a minute. This person thinks that AI is some sort of specialized computer. It's a sort of like, I don't know, maybe a floating brain. I have no idea what this person thought. But he didn't have the first principle understanding that AI is nothing more than a software. You need a normal computer, maybe a powerful one, but you need a computer to run it. So if you don't understand these first principles, that AI is nothing more than software that learns from data, then, well, you're gonna say stuff like this. So you're gonna have big issues because you can't even communicate with people because you don't understand how the technology works. And you end up, asking how big is AI, which is kind of weird, right? So let me go back to my slides now. I really wanted to tell you this story and just take a little bit of a break because I think it was funny. I laughed a lot when he asked me. Second point, you need to know how to measure an AI algorithm. What does it mean? It means that as a data scientist, I sometimes struggle knowing how good my algorithm needs to be for you to get business value. Because I don't know the problem. I don't know the industry. I may not know about cucumbers. I don't know what's the cost of making a bad prediction for a cucumber. But you, as an industry expert, you need to know how the performances of an algorithm are going to impact the business. You have to be able to say, well, if, I don't know, this algorithm has a false negative rate of 20%, well, it's too much because I'm going to lose this amount of money. So you need to be able to tie the technology performance to the business performance. This is also extremely important. And in terms of, so these are the kind of skills that you need to have, okay? So domain knowledge and some level of AI understanding. Let's look at the kind of career paths that you can have. So, sorry, last thing, AI vocabulary. I forgot about this, but it's very important, so I wanna talk about it. AI vocabulary means that you need to be able to talk with data scientists. If you don't have the same vocabulary, it's really, really hard to communicate, okay? So this is another skill that you need to have this kind of job. So again, we talked about the skills, domain expertise, and AI knowledge. Let's talk about different career paths. So I'm making an example here with a marketeer, so someone who does marketing. I'm gonna make different examples later, but let's just get this for now. Well, in the future, there's gonna be a lot of tools that use AI in marketing. If you don't learn AI, you're not gonna be able to use these tools because you just don't understand how they work, right? So without learning AI, you're gonna end up being what I call here a traditional marketeer. Let me put myself a little bit smaller so you can see better the slide. You're gonna be a traditional marketeer. On the other hand, if you start studying AI, you can become an AI marketing expert. That's how I call this kind of profession. I'm not sure whether that's the name that it's gonna get, but you get the idea. An AI marketing expert is someone who is an expert in marketing, but also understands AI and can use AI tools in marketing. That's pretty easy. It's pretty straightforward. So when, there are already now AI tools in marketing, by the way, but when in 5 to 10 years, there's going to be a lot of AI tools. If you are a marketer that also understands AI, you can be the person in charge of using these tools, of designing new tools, or of doing AI projects within your field, that is marketing. And the same kind of thinking can be applied to basically any other job. So let me get another example. UX design. Cool. Well, let's suppose that you work in UX, and so user experience, that's what UX is, and you don't study artificial intelligence. So at some point, you're gonna be called a traditional UX designer, which means someone that does user experience, but works maybe on traditional projects. When there's gonna be an AI project, so let's say an app that uses artificial intelligence, if you are UX designer that doesn't understand AI, you're gonna have a lot of trouble in designing the user experience of that app because you don't understand the technology behind it. Instead, studying AI, you can become a UX designer for AI applications. You can be specialized in the design of UX for apps that use AI, which is pretty cool, I have to say. I know quite a few people that do UX and they want to get into AI because, it's really important to design a good UX for AI projects. It's important in general, but with AI projects, you need to you need to be very careful because there's a lot of different, interactions between the person and the app. You get the data, the AI does something and then spits back something back to you. So you need to understand the technology. Last example, project manager. Again, you know the drill. You don't study AI, you're gonna work on traditional projects. You're gonna be a project manager for traditional projects. You study AI, well, you become an AI project manager. So you become an expert in handling the project managers of AI projects, which I also think is pretty cool. So you're gonna be able to lead the management of all this project that use artificial intelligence. So now, let's go back to the 3 phases thing. We talked about AI development. We said you need 3 different skills: machine learning, maths and statistics, and coding. And based on your mix of these 3 skills, you can have different kinds of jobs, from researcher, data scientist, software engineer. We talked about this part of an AI project, so defining the business problem. And we said that to have this kind of job, you need to have mainly 2 categories of skills. One is understanding the domain. So let's say you're building AI for a pharma company, you need to understand the pharmaceutical industry. You need to build AI tools for marketing. You need to be able to understand marketing, but you need to also be knowledgeable in artificial intelligence. If you don't know AI first principles, it's going to be a big problem. There's one missing: AI project design, which means transforming business problems into an AI problem that then can be turned into code. Well, this is I think the most fun part about AI, which is that this is pretty much a collaboration between domain experts and technical people. So there's people that are able to understand the business problem, some people that understand algorithms, neural networks, and all the fancy stuff. When they work together, they can translate a business challenge into an AI project. And you also understand now why it's so important that these people over here have some AI vocabulary. Otherwise, you're not able to talk, you're not able to speak with technical people, and well, your project is just not gonna be easy to carry on. Okay? So now, 2 main parts: domain experts and technical people. Which one is right for you? How do you choose? How do you choose your career path? Well, I just want to give you a little bit of ideas to try to decide for yourself, because you are the only person that can decide which one is the best career path for you. So let's pick the 2 sides. I'm going to start from the technology-focused careers, okay? So it's good for you, I think, to think about a technology-focused career, so a data scientist or a data engineer or this kind of stuff, if you have a scientific mindset. What does it mean, having a scientific mindset? Well, it means that you maybe studied something like mathematics or physics, engineering, and you have that kind of 1 + 1 = 2, that kind of logic mindset. It's also good if you like static kind of jobs. And let me say what I mean by static. AI is a field that evolves a lot and very fast, so it's not static at all. But if you are a data scientist, you're gonna spend most of your time in an office writing code. So in that sense, it's a kind of a static job. You need to like this, or you may not. It's a very independent job, which means that you work in teams, but you spend most of your time alone in front of a screen. Let's just say that. Maybe you have meetings, but building technology means that you need to write code, and writing code is mostly a solitary endeavor, right? And last, it's great if you already have some strong expertise in science, because I see that people that have maybe a background in engineering or mathematics or physics, for them it's really fast to get into AI, and so they can invest just a few months. Everyone can get into AI, but of course, if your background is in science, then it's probably going to be a little bit easier for you. That being said, let's switch to application-focused careers, so the domain experts that I was talking about before. It's good if you have a creative mindset. So if you're someone who really likes to think about how to find good solutions, new solutions that use technology to business problems. So you need to be creative. You need to have that kind of mindset. It's a very dynamic job, meaning that since by definition you need to be bridging business and technology, you need to be constantly moving around, constantly talking to different people, constantly trying to find new solutions to problems, trying to bridge again these two worlds, the business world and the technology world. So it's pretty dynamic in that sense. It's very collaborative. Again, by definition, you're bridging business and technology. You need to be able to talk to the business people and to the technology people. So you need to be someone that it's like a glue for all these different skills, all these different mindsets. And I think it's great if you already have some domain expertise that you want to compound. So let's say that you have a degree in marketing. You are an expert in marketing or something like this. Well, then if you study AI, you can add something on top of what you already have. Say you study business, add something on top, add that domain knowledge of AI. You have experience in the pharmaceutical industry or in the engineering industry, whatever that is. Study AI and you add a little bit extra to your resume and you become, I think, cooler in the eyes of other companies. So one tip that I want to give you is keep your personality in mind when deciding. And this is kind of a personal tip. I put a dog in the smiling on the back just because I really like dogs and I wanted to add a dog, but it doesn't really makes much sense. But I hope you appreciate a random dog. I want to tell you a little bit of a personal story on why it's important to keep your personality in mind. In the beginning of my career, I was doing a lot of technical development. So I was writing a lot of code. I was basically working as a data scientist. And that was because customers were very interested in me building prototypes. So I was, teaching them what is AI, but then they were always asking for more and they were asking me to build projects. And very quickly, I started spending a lot of hours per day, 10 hours per day maybe, writing code. And it was nice, it was fun because I like technology, I like coding. But after a while I realized that it doesn't match my personality because as you probably figured out, I really like to talk with people, I really like to be extroverted, to be empathic, to just be out there and be creative and talk and do all this kind of stuff. And even though I liked building AI algorithms, that wasn't matching my personality, that kind of activity. So I wasn't super happy about it. I wasn't very happy of spending all my time writing code. So at some point, a couple of years ago, I told my clients, hey, I'm gonna finish these projects, but I'm not gonna take new ones. I'm not going to build new technology for you because I think I want to do something else. I think I want to do what matches best my personality. Okay, so keep this in mind. It's super important. Think about what kind of stuff you like to do, what's your personality, and choose your career path, whether technical, non-technical, based on you, based on what drives you. Okay, and there's nothing wrong with saying I really like being all day in a room writing code. It's totally fine. My co-founder Nico, I love that guy and he really likes coding all day. He doesn't like to talk to people. He wants to be locked up in a room, God bless him, and write the best code ever. That's totally fine, but you need to know who you are. If Nico was doing my job now, he will explode because he really likes to do all this kind of stuff. So I just got a question. I'm gonna take this question right now because I think it makes sense. So someone said, Heftiger said, is it possible to go from computer science to cancer research with data scientists and AI? So I understand that you studied CS, I guess it's computer science, or I guess it's computer science. Just let me know in the comments if I understood it correctly. It's totally possible. Let's take the environment of cancer research, okay? As an example. How do you think an AI project for cancer research is carried on? Well, you need people that understand cancer, right? So doctors, because I mean, I know nothing about it. I know that it's bad, but I don't know the chemistry, the biology behind it. But then you need also someone who's really good at understanding data, AI algorithms. So data scientists typically. But also I imagine that you will have to process a lot of data and that will probably need some very strong software engineering skills. So someone like you that has a background in computer science can definitely be super helpful in that last part of handling all these big amounts of data. And maybe I will recommend for you, if you don't have any knowledge of machine learning, to just study that a little bit. And now we're going to talk about how to study this stuff so that you can at least talk to data scientists and, you know, hopefully also start understanding the world of cancer research if that's what you're interested in. Because, you know, working on these projects with, you know, people that are with doctors, you're gonna end up understanding it a lot. Right now I'm an expert in the diapers market, for instance, because I talked a lot with a company that makes diapers, with Pampers, and so talking with them I became an expert in diapers. That's gonna happen to you as well if you start talking to people that are experts in cancer in this case. Another question: how did I switch from engineering to artificial intelligence without a degree in AI? And how do you advise to learn AI on the internet? Great question, Lorenzo, because that's something that I think I didn't mention. I'm an NNG engineer. I'm not an AI. I don't have a degree in AI. I became a data scientist by studying a little bit alone. I'm going to show you how in the next few slides, but also because I had a mentor, my co-founder, Nicolo. We were living together in San Francisco. He was really good already at the time. And so he helped me understand what to learn and, you know, create a path. So I'm going to go back to the slides because now I'm going to talk about what to study to, you know, get a career in you know, to start getting these jobs so that I can answer Lorenzo. And you're welcome, Heftiger. I just saw your message. So back to the slides. Study paths. Let's talk about what you have to study to get either technical or non-technical careers, okay? So, technical jobs. Let's start with the Lorenzo's question, basically. Well, you have two paths. One is the traditional study path, which is studying university AI programs, or start from computer science, which is the closest thing probably to AI, or study from maths and physics. So something, I say maths and physics, why? Because they give you a lot of, you know, foundations on mathematics, statistics, all this kind of stuff that you need to build AI, right? So they give you the foundations. And then you can build on top by studying basically the tools that AI people use. Basically, I'm learning Python or learning Python libraries like TensorFlow, PyTorch. Maybe you don't know what these words mean, but there are basically different tools. Remember before I said AI is like a toolbox? You have, you know, a hammer, a screwdriver. Yeah, basically you can start by building a foundation of mathematics, physics, etc., and then you can just learn how to use a screwdriver. Okay? So the specific tools. The other way is to go through online learning. This is actually what I did in the beginning. So I went on, there are some pretty good courses out there for technical jobs. Coursera has one, it's called Machine Learning. Pretty easy, pretty straightforward. From this professor called Andrew Ng, that's how you spell it. And Udacity has also some pretty cool courses. One is called Introduction to Machine Learning, which is free, it's pretty quick, and gives you a good grasp. There's also some websites to learn how to code in Python, which is the language that is used to build AI. Most people use Python. And a good place to start is a website called pythonprogramming.net or DataCamp. DataCamp is really good as well. I can send you then some links if you're interested in this. This is how I've done it, by the way. I studied from Coursera and Udacity, and again, using also the tips from Nico, from my co-founder. Honestly, he was super helpful in just, you know, setting up a path, basically. So these are the two different ways you can do. And you can also do both, right? So you can study maths and physics and then maybe specialize in Coursera or Udacity. So this is for technical jobs. The real question is, how the hell do you train non-technical jobs for non-technical people? Or maybe let me just take this question from Daniel. What do you think about the new Bachelor of Artificial Intelligence in Sapienza University? I don't know about that specific bachelor program, unfortunately, but I recommend that you see whether there's a good balance between practice and theory, because a lot of AI programs are basically just computer science programs where you add a little bit of machine learning. Make sure that they teach you also the tools that I was telling you. Otherwise, it doesn't matter. So I hope that I answered unfortunately, I don't know the program. Just go check it out. Maybe send it to me on Instagram or LinkedIn. I'm gonna take a look and give you some feedback. I'm happy to help. But let's talk about non-technical jobs now, because this is really important, and I suspect that a lot of people may be interested in non-technical jobs. And I see Alessia is talking about linguists, opportunities for linguists, and this would be something for you. So ideally, what I think is going to happen in maybe a few years is that universities are going to start adding AI courses within non-technical courses. So let's say that you have, I don't know, a marketing faculty, or you're studying, linguistics in a university. At some point in the future, all these universities are going to add AI courses. So this is something that is going to happen. I'm 100% sure. I already saw some philosophy courses that added AI. Because again, you need to be able to understand philosophy and AI if you want to be an AI ethicist, for instance, right? So that's something you can do. But all these universities are not getting up to speed fast enough. They're just so slow in adopting all these new careers. So I think in 10 years, maybe 5 years, I don't know, this is going to happen. I'm more 10 than 5, to be honest. But right now, it's just not a good way. So this is just not happening. So what I recommend is to start from some online courses. And there are some online. There's one from MIT, one from Berkeley, one from Princeton as well. They're pretty expensive though. And I want to tell you a little bit about the course that I developed. Okay, so I can tell you how this could actually help you. The course is called AI Expert. And it's a course that I developed based on all the stuff that I taught to business people at large corporations. Like, Procter & Gamble, Merck, Pampers, all these companies. I usually go there and then I talk to their managers and try to explain them what the hell is artificial intelligence. But then I realized, well, what if someone like you, what if Marco, what if Emanuele, what if Alessia want to learn AI and in their company, or maybe they don't have a job, maybe they're still students, or maybe in their company they're not investing. How can I help people learn AI? And so I developed this course called AI Expert. It's the same stuff that I taught to, the CEO of Procter & Gamble, but put on an online course. Here's how it works. You get more than 40 on-demand video lessons, so you can watch them whenever you want. They are forever yours. You can start watching them now, or a lot of people just buy the course now and then maybe start in weeks or months when they have more time. Then there's 3 live masterclasses with me where you get to ask me all the questions that you want about specific topics that we talked about in the project, in the course, or maybe you want to know more about career stuff, or maybe how can your industry be impacted by AI. Whatever, we have these big workshops where we talk with the students and you get asked to ask me all the questions that you want, and we go really deep. Then there's a community. This is something that I'm actually launching next week, because there's already quite a few students in the course that are enrolled. But next week I'm going to start a community, because I really want to create a place where people that have different backgrounds but they share the same passion for AI, for technology, can talk and exchange ideas and talk between each other. And then maybe one day in, maybe a few months, I can also invite the business leaders that want to hire people, all my clients that are like, Gianluca, I need to find someone for this position, I can't find it. I can invite all these people that maybe can do hiring between the community as well. Super excited about this community. Again, I'm gonna launch it on Monday probably, so this is gonna be pretty cool. And in the end, we're gonna have a small exam. I hate calling it an exam. I need to think about a different way of calling it. But what I'm gonna ask you is to create a small video or a blog post or infographic, whatever you feel comfortable with, that explains artificial intelligence or explains an AI project. And I'm gonna review it personally, and if that's well done, then you're gonna get a certificate that you can use with your employer or with future employers, okay? So that's also, I think, is pretty important, because I don't wanna give you a course where you just, watch the videos and that's it. I also wanna help you test your skills. Test if you actually learned. And then if you actually learned, I'm gonna give you a certificate, of course. So a little bit more information about the course, and then I'm gonna answer the question that I see a lot of questions coming up. So the course is either one-time fee of 120 euros, so you pay once, that's it, yours forever, Or if you prefer paying in different tranches, you can pay with 3 rates of 48 euros each. So there's a little bit of margin compared to the one-time fee. You have 14 days money back guarantee, which means that you can buy the course, and if within 14 days you tell me, hey Gianluca, I didn't like the course, that's fine. I'm not gonna cry. I'm just gonna give you the money back, and that's it. We are friends like before. That's totally fine if you don't like it. I'm pretty sure you will, but because I really know that the course is nice. But if you don't, it's totally fine. So there's no risk. You just, ask me the money back and I'll give it to you. And very important, the enrollment closes on Tuesday, the 30th of March. The reason why I do this is because I don't want to have classes that are huge. If I have a class with 200 people, I can't talk to you because it's just so messy and just, it's really hard. So I close the enrollment when I have a pretty limited amount of students so that we can talk and have more of a one-to-one relationship. You learn better. I am less stressed. It's just so much better, I think. So if you want to join this class, you need to do it before Tuesday. So these are some reviews that I got from people that are really happy. These are the 3 that I chose that I think are really nice. This is from Andrai, who said that he's already thinking about how to use AI in UX. Enrico said that I helped him overcome the limiting opinions he had about himself. He didn't think he could learn AI, and instead he did. And then Biagio was super excited and wants to make it his job. This is the link. I'm gonna send to everybody who registered to the webinar an email right when this finishes so that you can subscribe, and there's the link. You just don't need to copy that right now. So now I'm gonna leave the link here. I'm gonna make myself a little bit bigger on the screen, and I'm gonna get all your questions because I see there are a lot, and I'm super happy to take whatever time it's needed to answer them. I'm gonna make this a little bit smaller right here. Cool. So let's get your questions. I think the last one that I received was from Alessia. It says, what about linguists? Are there opportunities for linguists who have a background in computational linguistics and machine learning? Hell yes. Do you know, you probably know Translated. Maybe you don't. It's a company in Rome. They use AI to make better translations. They definitely hire linguists. So there is a market for this. AI is getting a lot into this field because, of course, if you're able to translate at scale all the content on the internet, then suddenly knowledge can become more accessible. So there is a big use case for this, and there's a need for people that can do this. The people can understand the field. So yes, there's definitely opportunities for you. Davide, do you think it's a waste of time to learn technical stuff for creativity or non-technical path? It's not a waste of time. I wouldn't say that it's a waste of time. Learning stuff is never a waste of time, okay? But it's a long route. Like if you want to become a domain expert who also understands tech, you're probably taking the longest path if you start by learning Python. That's why in my courses I don't teach coding. I don't teach neural networks, because I don't think you need it to have that job. But if you're interested in it, by all means, go ahead. It's fun if you like it. Headfigure, do you think boot camps are worth it? It really depends on the boot camp. Some are really good, some are not. I recommend to talk to previous students of boot camps because they are the best way to understand if the boot camp is good. Emanuele, what is your view on the battle between R and Python for data science? Python all the way. I really like Python. It's becoming always more and more used. Yeah, so that's my personal opinion. And that's also what's happening in the industry, by the way. So it's backed by real data. Marco, I'd like to study politics and international relations. Interesting. Hopefully to end up working with private companies or public institutions. Do you think AI knowledge can be useful in this field? If yes, how? Private companies are as Leonardo or other contractuals, public institutions as the UN or ministries, because this might not be the first field that comes to mind for AI, but maybe there's a future for it. Marco, 100%. Just think about all the AI regulation that needs to come out. AI ethics. How do you regulate data sharing? How do you make laws like the robot tax, for instance? It's a lot of talk about the robot tax. All this policy making stuff needs to people that know, well, both policy making, sociology or whatever that is, public relations, but also understand AI. Unfortunately, a lot of politicians, they make laws about AI without understanding AI, and that pisses me off. So if you want to get in that field, please learn AI, because then you're gonna be a better, if you're working, if you're gonna become a politician, a better politician. If you wanna work in the UN, you're gonna do a better job. AI needs to be regulated at some point. This is my opinion. Someone is gonna have to make laws about AI, and well, yeah, you need to be able to understand it, of course. Andrea, I really wonder what kind of contribute can AI give to an industry such as Pampers that produces diapers? Just for curiosity. Ooh, a lot of stuff. I should invite the head of data for one webinar. If you would like me to organize it, just write in the chat, tell me, yes, Gianluca, invite the head of data at Pampers. Increase sales, better marketing. They use AI to have a better marketing strategy, basically. I can't share a lot because, of course, non-disclosure agreements and all that stuff. It's confidential information, but I can be vague and tell you a little bit about it. To optimize their production, they produce, like, I don't remember how many trucks of diapers per day, but something along like more than 100 trucks full of diapers per day. If you use AI to optimize that process, you can save a lot of money. So they use AI for this. And I'm working, for instance, if you want to do optimized production, I'm working with someone who's working in their production facilities together one-on-one to try to, build these projects and understand how their processes work. Let me put this here so it's not annoying with my face. Lorenzo, thank you so much. You reduced the price of your book to 25 euros. True. I will buy it. Nice. Is it for beginners or for experts? It's for beginners. If I have to say, the content is very similar to what I cover in the course. The course, of course, the online course, AI Expert, goes a little bit more in detail. Just because, with videos, I can do so much more, right? And there's the community and all that stuff. So you can get the book. I managed to convince my publisher to drop the price. Before it was so expensive. It was like 50 euros. It's a good book. I really think it's nice. People are happy with it. Consider also the course, because there's the community there, the certificate, the exam, there's more videos. You get to ask me questions and all that stuff. So consider between the two which one it's better for you. Could you explain the difference between the two different courses on the site? I see there's one cheaper and one more expensive. Yes. So the more expensive one is called AI Manager. I haven't launched it yet. I'm still getting a little bit of information, but that's meant for managers. So for people who are already working for corporations. And the main difference is, first of all, there's more content. There's also some strategy stuff that if you're not a manager in a company, you don't need yet. But the main difference is that in AI Manager, I follow managers in defining an AI project for their company. That's why it costs more than 1,000 euros. It's because there is more of a one-on-one kind of consulting for their AI project, okay? If you're a manager at a company, just write me an email and we're going to talk about the project, the program, if it's a good fit for you. If you're not a manager at a company, I recommend starting from AI Expert, because you get most of the value for literally 1/10 of the price. So it's pretty good, right? How many marketers have taken this course? Good question. I'm actually now asking people next week when I'm going to launch the community to fill up a questionnaire so they can have more stats on their background. There are quite a few marketers, and I've done a lot of education in marketing for marketing people. I've taught at ESCP, so European School of Business, a course for AI marketing. It was like a half day for their executive MBA. I taught to the Web Marketing Festival in Italy. I really like teaching AI to marketing, because in marketing, that's a lot of data. And data is the gasoline that you put into artificial intelligence, basically. So I definitely recommend looking into AI if you're a marketer. We are supposed to be done with time, but I'm going to take some more questions if you have. How would you use AI in the restaurant business? Could you give me an example? Oh my God, Joshua, this is a pretty cool question. So it depends if you're a big or small restaurant. If you're a small restaurant, the main issue you're gonna have is data. There's not a lot of data if you're a small restaurant, because you don't know much about your customers. Basically, you're not like, Spotify or Netflix that can collect all these data points. I still see a use case for basic data analytics. If, for instance, you could keep track of what people are buying, you could try to spot trends in the data. You could see that, I don't know, avocado toasts are getting more and more bought by your customers, and then you can maybe make more dishes around this. But for instance, if you want to promote your business, your restaurant on Facebook ads uses a lot of AI. And if you understand how AI work, like for me, when I use Facebook ads to make ads for my course, maybe actually you're on this webinar because you saw one of my ads. I tend to think, how is the AI reacting to this different ad that I make? How is Facebook AI learning from this ad that I just made? I think about all these things. So if you have a restaurant and you use Facebook ads, you're using an AI tool. Deal with it. You're using AI. Everyone is using AI in a way or another. So this is just a very meta level of how you're actually you're interacting with AI if you have a restaurant. Andrea says, yes, let's invite the guy from Pampers. I'm gonna tell him, and if he wants to join, super happy to have a live with him. Thank you for answer. Yes, invite him if you can. No, this is the same question, the same answer I read before. Do you still work with Start to Impact? What do you think about its AI course? I don't work with Start to Impact anymore. Their course is managed now by someone else that I think is making a better job than me, to be honest, because I didn't have a lot of time at the time, and he has more time to follow students. Any experience in AI in academia? I'm pivoting to bioinformatics career, and I'm wondering where less technical might fit besides theoretical research on AI. So AI in academia, there are some universities that are a little bit far behind, meaning that, for instance, they make you use very old AI tools. Some of them are not. Some of them are really good. It really depends on the university. It's hard to give you a general answer for this. Yeah, it's hard. If there are no other questions, I'm gonna wrap this up. You're gonna receive an email right now. As soon as I click close live, I'm gonna send the email to everyone who joined the webinar with the information about AI Expert. But just to remind you, let me go back here. Woo. Here. So the cool thing about the AI Expert is that it's a mix. Let me put it bigger. Here we go. That it's a mix of on-demand and interaction with me and with the other students. I think that's the thing that I like the most about the program. So you get, again, 40 videos that are on-demand, watch them whenever you want, but you also interact with me through live master classes, with the community, and in the end you also have the exam, which I think is pretty nice. If you want to join, the link is this one. You're going to receive it in the email anyway. And if you have any question about this, let me know. Just write me on Instagram, write me on whatever you want, an email. When you receive the email, you can just answer to that email. And yeah, let's keep in touch. And I hope you're going to join, and I hope this was helpful for everyone. I'm really interested in knowing your feedback about this webinar as well. So again, reply to the email that I'm about to send you. And I wish all of you a great evening, and see you soon. Goodbye. Bye, everyone. Bye.